It's a good word.
No. Well, yeah, when we come out executive. Ready?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the June 4th Town of Monroe meeting. Thank you for coming tonight. Once again, please silence your phones. 2 exits behind you, 1 exit's up in front of us, to my left, your right. If we could all rise for the pledge, we could get things moving. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so just want to cover a couple of things prior to us going into executive session, which we have to discuss a few items. So, Sal, I'll turn this over to you, the Village Farmers Market, because I know you've been working with the Village Board on this.
Yep. So yesterday was the first day. It was a good turnout. Weather was okay. We had live music down there, and then we had Johnny Chow on the harmonica. Did you
Oh,
see
really?
it? Yeah,
Oh, no, I didn't see that, no.
So next week, we're looking to bring in, I think it's another 6 or 7 new vendors, possible seafood, some cheese vendors. We're really trying to step it up this year. So
French fry vendor, right?
French fry vendor, yeah. We got that. That's confirmed for next week. Yeah, so probably 6 new ones next week. That's about it. Good stuff.
Sounds good, yeah.
Yeah.
In addition, the baskets were completed this weekend that we helped pay for within the village. They're on all the light poles that are directly in the village shopping area, and they came out nice. So if you happen to go down, if you happen to run into Mayor Dwyer or any of the village board members, just make note of the fact that they're there and tell them just explain how great they look, and they do look great.
It really does.
Yeah, it really brightens the place up.
I noticed when we were walking the parade route 2 weeks ago that the town looked excellent.
Yeah,
It really did.
yeah.
It looked really good.
It was good. And I know Mayor Dwyer and the girls from the garden club really worked hard in getting all those plants in the ground, the geraniums and the petunias, all associated with the memorials and the village intersection by 17M and Lake Street. So I know they worked hard on it. I have a couple announcements. First is on Saturday, June 10th, from 2 to 4 p.m. at Smith Clove Park. There is Paws in the Park. It's a celebration of dogs, and it's going to be a fun dog show, as they have termed it. They're going to have different categories for contests. Sits the longest, best dressed, longest tail, saddest eyes, best tricks, dog owner, look-alike. McGinn, I think you have that wrapped up, right?
That was quick.
Something else to talk about in executive.
People's Choice, and Best Kisser. I think you have that wrapped up too, Mike.
Oh,
Not that I know, Mike.
Maybe my dogs are the best kissers. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, and the Garden Club is presenting a vegetable gardening seminar on. I'm sorry, that's June 10th is a Sunday.
what time?
2 to 4 p.m. and it's at the stage in Smith Clove, which is in the back part of the park, just on the right past the roller rink. So the Monroe Garden Club is having a vegetable gardening seminar on Saturday, June 9th from 10:30 a.m. to 12 noon. It's at the Monroe Theater on Mill Pond Parkway. Obviously, we know where that is. The guest speaker is Betsy Hawes, who's a senior master gardener and works with the Cornell Cooperative Extension. And the basis for it is learn how to start, maintain, and harvest your vegetables and putting your garden to rest at the season's end. There will also be a demonstration by Marie Pulverant on how to make a lettuce bowl garden. Next up, on Saturday, June 16th, from 2 to 8 p.m. is our first annual Community Day honoring our Monroe first responders at Monbassia Park. That's from 2 to 8. We presently have 4 bands that'll be on consecutively from 2 p.m. through 8 p.m. And we're looking forward to a good turnout. Anything you want to add?
We are actually turning food trucks away at this point. I think we have 15 that are coming. We have 3 food trucks that have never been to the Hudson Valley from Manhattan coming to this event. So this is going to be it's a rain or shine event. We are going to pack the house, tell everyone you know, spread the word. Let's put on a good event here. This is going to be a good day.
Also, Sal was astute enough to work with Pat Patterson and the county, and we were able to get the stage at no cost from the county. Originally, we were going to rent one that was going to be approximately $500. It's essentially a stage truck. Truck pulls up, sides open up,
Looks like
creates an internal stage.
Not a little
So,
truck either. That's
No,
a big thing.
no.
it's
Wow.
a big stage.
Yeah.
So that's all good.
Terrific.
Boathouse is scheduled to open this weekend. The boats are in the water. There's some touch-ups that are being done right now with regard to the pavilion, picnic tables, and the docks. Everything is in order, and it's looking like they'll open on Saturday. Next up, we have approval of minutes from May 17th, 2018.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll
How's it?
second.
Seconded by
So,
Councilman Scancarello. Any changes, updates, discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay. So moved. The May 21st, we're tabling that till next meeting. Okay, I'm going to skip over the theater ticket price change, which was not supposed to be ticket price, it's supposed to be concessions. We'll discuss that after our executive session. Item 4.2, hometown firefighter services. I'll defer to Mr. Nugent on that.
Thank you, Supervisor. This matter concerns the LoSAP program, and we discussed last time there is a requirement for a mandatory referendum to abolish the program, as it has to follow the same rules by which it was established. So we would recommend the board authorize our office to work with Hometown and Council for the Fire District to move forward with dissolving that, or providing at least the language for you to dissolve the LoSAP program, assuming that's what you want to do.
Okay, I'll make that motion to authorize Mr. Nugent and his firm to work with the Hometown Firefighter Services.
I'll
to-
second for discussion.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Have we reached out to, it's basically Lakeside, have we reached out to Lakeside and they're in favor, or they have no
I have-
concerns?
I
or-
have spoke to Lenny Lennox on it. The only concern was that some of the senior members were going to probably opt for a bulk payout, and their bulk payout would affect them in a negative way because of taxes. So, other than that, that's really the only pushback or negative I've received. But it's the burden of the town, unfortunately, and we can't keep incurring a $2,000 to $3,000 per year cost on something that many other districts and the other two in our town, Harriman and Monroe, have abolished. So. Any other questions?
Those, the people, the firefighters in that district are now covered under the district's new service awards program. Correct? I mean, they should be.
I would think
believe
they would
all
be.
the firefighters in
Yeah.
the district are covered under it. So it's not like they're
But I
not gonna be
don't, I
covered or
don't,
whatever.
I don't think Lakeside is covered now because they're still with the LoSAP program. So they can't be double dipping. You follow?
Right.
Yeah.
So it was my impression this was just like the older members that were under this, and
No.
then newer members were
Well,
under
yeah,
this.
anybody,
20 years, son.
yeah,
I should say the senior members.
yeah.
Yeah, they've been in for 20 years. They're the ones that
Right.
are going to be affected.
Right.
What are they, how are they going to, what's going to happen with them when they switch over to the new system now?
We'll probably start at the
Yeah,
beginning.
I would say.
Yeah.
Counsel, can you add anything into that?
Well, if you want, it doesn't sound like, you have the answers you want yet on just dissolving it, so why don't we find out the answers to whatever questions you have as part of my reviewing this, and then we'll come back to you in 2 weeks with, or, we can give it to you before that, something in writing, but, other than the questions I just heard, if there are specific questions you want answered, you can either email me, I'll put them together and find out, who's affected, what happens to them in the future, and, the answers to your questions that you're posing tonight.
Yeah, I have one other question. When's the last date that we would have to get this up to, I'm assuming Board of Elections, we have to get this information up to them so it could be on the
Yeah,
November ballot?
I think it's late August. It's usually the 75 days. I can confirm that, but I think it's 75 days before the election, and I think that takes us back to late August usually, or maybe September, but I think it's a 75-day pre-election window, so if it's any less than that, it would have to be a special election if you're less than 75 days.
And there's 28 members that it's, that are
Right,
affected
and
by.
would those 28 members have an exact payout number? Or is that going to be determined after? Like, can they find out ahead of time what
Yeah,
their
they can
payout would
find out,
be?
yeah, that
If
they
we
can
give
find
the
out
date,
ahead.
like, for example, if we said we expect it to be dissolved December 31st of 2018, then the actuary from Hometown, they can provide a report of what all the payouts would be. So we can use that date, if we want, as a guide, and ask them to provide numbers for the payouts based on that, unless you want it sooner, but assuming there is a referendum on it, then it's not
It would
going to be any
probably
sooner
be
than
the
November
soonest
anyway.
it
So,
could be done anyway.
and I think there's a 30-day period or something after, so we may as well use December 31st of this year as the dissolve date, and then we can ask for the numbers based on that.
Okay, and these are funds the town has already in escrow to pay out these LoSAP payments?
Yes.
I never say we have money, so I'll defer to the supervisor on that.
No,
I believe
yes.
it's with
The way-
it's with the insurance company.
Yeah, it's with,
What we pay the insurance for.
Hometown Fire, hold on.
Yeah, it's not like in our fund balance.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
it's with
Right.
Hometown
Right.
Firefighters, services out of Bohemia.
All right.
All right?
Okay, so,
So we gotta call the question?
and that's just to have Mr. Nugent start the paperwork and to answer our questions?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, then,
And just one other thing, this is what I'm looking for in my notes. The breakdown is there's 8 inactive members and 20 active members. So, for whatever that is worth. Any other questions? Okay, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancro, aye.
Again,
Okay, so moved.
Supervisor, just can the people in the back hear? I feel like the mics are lit, but doesn't feel like there's any
All right.
volume.
Not on well, but we can hear because it's small. They're not on.
Okay.
Can you turn them up a little? Because it
Yeah,
doesn't.
Is that better?
I think that was about.
York
a little bit
Ladu,
more.
check.
Check.
That better?
Right?
Little bit. Testing.
A little bit more? All right. That's good, I think. I think that's good.
Okay.
I didn't want the folks in the back to miss all the excitement.
Next item up is the Emmys Isidore Landau, Town of Monroe. Discuss and consider, I guess this would be an executive session. Counsel?
The litigation, yes.
Yeah, okay. So that will be added to executive session. Fire protection agreement for the Monroe Fire District, which is item 4.4. So the Presently, there are 5 lots that this pertains to. It's approximately 14 acres. And we have to set a public hearing on this.
Well, you were going to answer my question last month, if this is a cost borne by all the taxpayers, or are they just these individual property owners?
My error.
Yeah, I believe it's just the property owners, and also the referendum, you know, if one, for this, the public hearing and slash referendum is only for the residents of the fire protection districts. I don't even know at this point if there are any residents. That's something we have to determine, you know, with respect to who's affected, because I believe there were 14 parcels in this fire protection district.
No, I think there was less.
Well, there's
14
5
acres?
listed here. Section 2, Block 1, lots 2.4, 4.31, 5.221, 26.222, and 27.
Okay, I'm sorry, maybe it was 14 acres, not parcels.
Yeah, it was 14 acres.
14 acres, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm, Council, I'm going to assume that since it is a fire district issue, are they classifying the fire district as those 14 acres or our entire fire district?
No, this is a fire protection agreement. In other words, where the the fire district for the town is providing protection to these 14 acres or 5 parcels.
Okay.
So it's only, but the law requires, for that agreement, requires a public hearing prior to approving it. So, you know, my suggestion was, I did look, and they have the parcels in the letter, but not in the agreement, so we should, you know, have a listing going with the agreement of those parcels that are actually included in the fire protection district, and then we'll provide an updated version to the board prior to the public hearing, which we could do in 2 weeks. And, you know, you have any questions concerning it, we can address those as well with counsel for the fire district.
Okay. Are we allowed to just charge those 5 parcels the $8,500 as a town? Or does that have to be incorporated within the entire fire district?
Yeah, as far as the 8,500 payment itself, like how is it allocated?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I believe it's just those parcels that get assessed
Okay.
for the cost of that, not the whole fire district, but we can clarify, because they're signing an agreement with the district for the $8,500. So it's really an agreement to provide protection. Otherwise, if it were going to be assessed across the district, they, you know, would make them part of the district. But it's not contiguous, so I think it's basically an agreement for the district to go outside and provide the service.
Which
But
they,
we'll
which
confirm
they
that.
have been providing now. It's just a matter of.
Yeah, I'll say this, whatever it is, however it's been assessed, it's the same. However you've been charging, it's the same as it was. This district is not new. You're just reducing it to a smaller size and therefore reducing the amount of money that's being paid. So however it was collected, that's not going to change.
All right, you know what? I think maybe if we make the motion to have the public hearing on the 18th,
We can have
move
those
forward with
questions.
that, we
in.
have those answers, those questions answered, and we might even be able to get the answers tonight because Tom Sullivan will be here for another item, and we could possibly ask him
Okay.
the details of that.
All right, so we need a motion to make set the public hearing for this matter on the 18th at 7:30 p.m.
Yes.
All right,
Make that
18th of,
motion.
you made the motion?
Yeah.
I'll
I'll
second.
second. All right,
All right.
go ahead.
Rick seconded it. Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Begin aye.
Okay. John is going to be a little late. He said he'll probably be here around 8:30, so we'll allow him to do the highway site remediation contract. Okay, I will ask that I would like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel and litigation.
I'll second that for you. You making a motion?
Yes.
All right, I'll second that.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to come out of executive session and back into our regular meeting.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Cologne. I'll call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. Say, Mr. Sherney, you are up with the Highway Department site remediation contract.
Okay. Basically, as you all know, we had to get rid of that one tank that's on the, I would call it the number 4 side of the building, which would be closest to the senior center. It's a tank that sits underneath the building. We basically wanted to get bids on some of those areas, or from bidders and things of that nature, which Mark Etzel did. And one bid that I seen that stuck out to me was the old Ira Conklin guy. And he's now WCC Tank Technology Incorporated. I have done work with him, and I believe he was actually one of the lower bids too, at $21,077. So I think that's the one you should probably go with, as long as Mr. Etzel feels that would be the guy to deal with.
And he already has said that, correct?
He did not tell me that directly, but I'm sure a phone call for him tomorrow telling us that we would go with him would be fine.
I thought we
These are
had a
bids.
letter.
No, I didn't have that. Hold on. I don't know if he recommended or not. God, this one going back to
Yeah, we have a letter from them.
5th of December. There's nothing petroleum.
He said that based on the review of the scope of the work, quotation submitted is our opinion that the quoted values are reasonable based on current construction costs. Our office has worked on projects with WCC Tank Technology in the past. Based on this project history, it's our opinion that they are capable of completing the work in a professional manner.
Perfect. So he said yes,
And they're the lowest
and I
bidder.
agree with him.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we approve the contract for the remediation site work at the Highway Department with the base bid of $21,077 from WCC Tank Technology Incorporated.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Okay, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. Highway, I'm sorry, the RFP for refuse and recycle. Councilman Cologne.
We have that proposal is prepared. I believe that the only thing that's missing right now is to get a few more, what is it, a listing of sites? Is that correct?
Yeah, that actually just needs some, which the clerk will set the dates of the return and submission of the RFP, but what Councilman Cologne's referring to is there's an item in there that's annexed, which is a description of the district, whether it be the map, or I know that the assessor had put together a list of units within the refuse district. So that item just needs to be finalized, and the document's ready to be issued. But I think we need a description for the proposers so they can see, how many units. I know that Ms. McDonald had prepared that portion. I don't know if the town has a map of the refuse district. If not, maybe just a listing.
I think we have a listing, is what I recall.
Yeah, so that's, I think, number 7 on the cover
Right.
page. It refers to that. And
So
that's the only item that we need to add to the RFP, and then it's good to go.
And then we can get that out this week.
Yeah, the other things are just dates for the town clerk when she decides. I think we suggested
When
a
it's
2-week
authorized,
period,
right.
so she'll have an issuance date that'll be filled in, and then a date for proposals to be submitted by.
That can be out by midweek.
I have a question. We're
You-
not doing anything with the park or any,
That's gonna be in there. In other words, to pick up for the park in the municipal areas. That's
Yeah,
gonna be part
that
of
should
it
be
as
on
far
the
as
list of facilities that.
That's
Okay.
gonna be a listing of the facility.
Because I think there were 6 town facilities that were going
That
to be
is correct.
listed as well. And then Councilman Cologne and I had worked on some additional criteria that we've added, beyond what was in the first bid, which is why all of those were rejected, so we could get more specific criteria in there.
Right.
And to get documents and submissions from the applicants concerning DOT, safety violations, accident reports, that kind of information, so we can see any negative history if the board is reviewing those. And you don't need to take any action tonight because you've already authorized the RFP. This is just sort of an update that it's there and just needs to be finalized, which should be out this week without any issue.
Right?
Okay. So we're waiting till next meeting to authorize?
No,
Or-
it's,
Oh, no, it's already authorized.
Already authorized.
Everything's authorized. The only thing that the clerk is gonna add is the listing or the map plan of the
Okay.
district, so. that's
Yeah,
it.
so this is really just discussion purposes and to give the board an update.
And that's just an informational thing.
Okay.
All done.
Supervisor Cardone, can we just go back to the highway site remediation?
Sure.
What budget line is that coming from? I believe that's supposed to be a townwide charge.
Townwide.
I will have to get that line item from our controller tomorrow.
Okay, just wanted to verify that.
John, can you also, I'll email him, can you email
Peter?
Mr. Martin? Yeah.
Okay.
Just ask him what line item that's coming from. Yep. Because we're gonna have to have that entered into the minutes at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay. 5.1 under new business, County Executive Arts, Heritage, and Tourism Grants Program.
Hey, do you want to jump back and take care of the 4.3 and 4.4?
I was gonna go into all the executive items at the end. Fire protection, I guess you could if you want. I'd rather go into all the executive items. I have a list of them, so.
Alrighty.
But you want to talk about fire protection?
No, I just figured we might as well kill all the old business while we're still there, but if we want to wait till the end, that's fine.
Okay, go ahead.
Well,
No, good. You want to talk about the Landau issue, Mr. Nugent?
On the litigation for, this is Isidore Landau versus the town of Monroe, and what's before the board, this is actually, had previously been submitted to the town in December of 2017. It doesn't appear any action had been taken, so what's before you is a proposed consent order and judgment on a tax certiorari proceeding, and our office has recommended that the town authorize our office to execute that order and judgment to be submitted to the court with respect to this matter. So we would need a motion adopting authorization for special counsel to the town to execute the consent order and judgment in index number 5376 of 2014 in the county of Orange.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
One quick question. This avoids litigation, I guess?
Yeah, it not only avoids the litigation, but when you continue tax cert proceeding past this point, you get into having to get involved in some expensive formal appraisals as part of the process, and so it'd be cost prohibitive, and typically, I would say 95% of the tax certs like these would resolve with a settlement. You usually don't go to a formal trial unless there's a real significant contention, and my understanding is further that Ms. McDonald, has been communicated with along with our office with Mr. Shaw, and agrees with the disposition.
Okay. All right. 4.4, fire protection agreement. We did get some clarification in the back.
Well, we need
You're getting cold.
the resolution on that. Mr. McGinn adopted the resolution. I don't know if
I seconded.
and it was seconded.
Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, I
Okay, so moved. So item 4.4, fire protection agreement. We did get some clarification from the district chairman, Mr. Sullivan, with respect to this. The members who are inactive basically receive their payout, while the other members who are not inactive, who are still active, will be funneled over to the existing I'm sorry, I'm talking two different things, talking two different things. Fire protection agreement is the 8,500 that will be paid by each particular lot owner, the 5 lots that exist in that district. Correct, counsel?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so that was a clarification on that. And then item 4.2, the Hometown Firefighter Services, the LoSAP program.
Right.
Those inactive members will receive a one lump sum payout. We will try to get that as of the end of this year. And then the 20 members who are presently active will be funneled into the current district's LoSAP program.
Yeah, do we need to make a motion to have our attorney start the possible referendum wording?
Yes.
I think you're making the motion?
Yeah.
Or
Well, that's what I want to verify, that we need to make a motion.
For the
I thought
LoSAP.
we had addressed it earlier, maybe I missed that. I thought we already authorized me to work with Hometown. Are we on 4.2, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought we had already done a motion authorizing me to work with Hometown and to, get some questions answered and to finalize. I know you just answered some of them, but to work on proposition language.
Okay, I just didn't write approved next to my notes, so that's my error then.
Okay, no, that's all right. I mean, if I think we at least approved me doing that work, and I don't think we need anything else formal at this point because we can bring the language back for your review on the 18th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, under new business, the 2018-19 County Executive Arts, Heritage, and Tourism Grants Program. It's a program that the county has out that allows for a $5,000 grant to a municipality. The grant application is in the process of being completed by my secretary. It's a $5,000 grant which will be awarded to individual artists, organizations, venues, and municipalities in Orange County to support artistic, cultural, and historical events, projects, performances, workshops, classes, and displays accessible to the general public that promote tourism-related economic development. So it's in the pipeline right now. We just wanted to get that out there.
Well, actually, Councilman Cologne had an idea for Shakespeare.
The only issue with that is, and he had mentioned it to me, we have to get this in by the 21st. I know that Councilman Scancarello has been working with Dawn Ansbro.
Orange County
Arts.
Sure.
Yeah, Orange
Okay.
County
On the
Arts
Orange
Council.
Council.
All right.
Yeah.
So she was supposed to contact my office. Once she does, we'll get that rolling with that. I think his idea is a great idea, and it can
We
be
just
done
don't
at a
know
future date.
timeline.
We'll
Yeah.
we'll get that done later on, probably a little
Yeah.
bit late in summer.
I'll keep my eyes open for more grants, like I found this one.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The HVAC repair at the Monroe Theater. I have 2 quotes before me. We have 2 quotes before us. I'm waiting for another one. I really wanted to get an expert, an independent HVAC individual to review them, because they're 2 totally different quotes other than the units. And I do want to grab another one before we make a decision on this, and I know that time is of the essence here because we have to get that system in order. So what I would like to do is hopefully get another quote by the 18th, move it forward right now, just analyze the 2 present ones that we have in our hands, and once we get the 3rd one, we can make a decision.
We have a ballpark. Should we
I don't want to put that out right now, because then the 3rd person bidding will know that.
Gotcha,
pricing
gotcha,
on it.
gotcha.
So.
All right,
Okay.
good enough.
Item 5.3, criminal background check guidelines. Council?
Well, we previously communicated with the town on this. You don't currently really have a policy or the policies you should have with respect to background checks. I know the agenda mentions credit checks, but criminal history checks. There is legislation in New York concerning how you use that information and whether or not you could deny an application based upon it. So our recommendation has been to the town that, policies be put in place concerning any background, if you're going to do background checks, how you're going to make use of that information and in considering employment applications. Right now, you just really don't have what we feel is an appropriate policy in that regard.
Okay. So we essentially have to come up with a policy then.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know you also have the HR,
We have
public
HRS.
consultants. If you want to, ask them to do that, that's fine as well. It's up to the town. It may be less costly. I'm not sure. They may already have a policy, so you may want to reach out to them first. But right now, I don't think you really have one. It's just sort of been done on an ad hoc basis.
I got to tell you, I remember Jen reaching out to them, and I think the response was it's not within their
Wheelhouse.
wheelhouse. Job
Okay, I mean,
description.
so we can, put something together. You just want to make it consistent with, the statutes that are out there and legislation that have been passed in recent years concerning, especially misdemeanor convictions and whether or not they can be considered in denying application.
Okay. All right, so we need a motion to authorize you to do that?
Yeah, if you want just a motion to authorize us to draft the policy for the board to review.
Okay,
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it for you.
okay.
And then I guess as part of this, well, I guess it's actually 5.4, so you want to split those up, we can go to that next.
Yeah, sure.
So 5.4 concerns, I believe the town board has treated volunteer board members in the same manner as when you hire full-time employees. So you're doing like a full application and background check, and frankly, you're collecting information that you really don't need for a volunteer board member. So this issue is whether you want, as a town board, to scale back the process for volunteer board members that are appointed, for example, to the Board of Ethics or the Planning Board, how much information you want to gather in that process when you're appointing somebody. And the recommendation is that you scale that back a little, as we're not dealing with, salaried full-time employees, but board members in the community. For example, I think right now you're asking employment, current salary information, things that in most places, in most municipalities, I should say, are typically not obtained for somebody on, say, the planning board or the board of ethics.
And the example is the BOE, which is on a volunteer basis.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just a question of whether you want to look at, separating these board member appointments from how you proceed with full-time or part-time employees that you're hiring on a salary basis.
Okay. So I think we should separate that. And the application should be different. So
So that'll be part of accepting on 5.3
on
is for-
five, on,
It's kind of like a combination?
well, that would be also within the 5.5 too.
Alright.
So we have 5.3, 5.4 rolls into 5.5, so.
Okay. All three.
Okay, so in order to move it along here, so on 5.5, the policy on new hires, I would like the town board to authorize our council to come up with guidelines and
Limitation.
applications regarding the two separate employments. Well, regarding two separate applicants, one a town employee and the other someone serving on a board on a volunteer basis. So I'm making that motion.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Cologne. Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again,
Okay. 5.6 is a designation of a town marriage officer. That will not be me. We will,
That's part of your duties, I
No.
thought.
You can already do it, so.
yeah. We have been requested by our town clerk to designate her as the town marriage officer. So we would need a motion for that.
And just for the supervisor, we make the motion that she would be authorized pursuant to the provisions of the domestic relations law, because there are restrictions on what the marriage officer can and can't do with that appointment.
Okay.
For example, the ceremonies have to be performed within the town. For the marriage officers, they have to reside in the town, and the ceremony has to be in the town. So I would just add that language that the appointment be pursuant to the domestic relations law.
Okay.
I'll second for discussion.
Discussion?
How many of these have happened in the town, and why do we really need this to be added to the town clerk's already numerous duties? She's not here right now, so
She's at a seminar.
she's at a
conference.
seminar.
Yeah, I mean, I believe she requested, because she has been approached by people to perform, kind of like, city hall weddings, those types of things, that a justice of the peace or another, duly elected official would do. So,
So she asked for it?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. So, I mean, I don't see a problem with it. I mean,
There's no,
she's been at this a long time, and
she also stated that there's no stipend or payment for it.
right.
Well, somebody can pay them up to $75.
Yes, that's correct.
If
If you
she's-
don't pay for
If
it.
we don't pay for it, right.
As long as she doesn't have to dress like Elvis, I don't have a problem.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham abstain.
Oh.
I don't know enough.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, I.
Okay. So moved. Okay, next up, Boathouse employee hires, which will be opening this weekend. So what I'd like to do is go down the list of the hires and the salaries. Do we have to improve each one individually, council?
I would recommend that you do. How many are involved?
11.
Is that really necessary, each individual? Can't we
Well,
just-
the board, you can poll the board, and if there's anyone that wishes to, separate out any particular individual because they may vote, differently, if you all expect to approve the hires, then you could do it en masse and just indicate the names.
Everybody okay doing it in mass? I'll do it in groups. Lifeguards, recreation attendants, and then recreation aides.
I'm good with that.
That sounds good.
Okay. So we'd like to hire 4 lifeguards. Austin Thomas at $13 an hour. Peter Thomas at $13 an hour. And they were there last year or previously. Ariella DiAugustini at $11 an hour, and Mordecai Klein at $11 an hour. So I'll make that motion.
I'll
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scancarello.
Yep.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, I.
Okay, so moved. Next up is our recreation attendants, and we need to hire 2. We have Samantha Sheldon at $12 an hour, and Julia Leggett at $12 an hour. So I'll make the motion to hire them.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Bingham. Any discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, I.
Okay. Next up, there are 5 recreation aides needed. So we will hire, the motion will be to hire Jessica Pigeon at $10.40 an hour, Sarah Kern at $10.40 an hour, Ryan Ames at $10.40 an hour, Jenna McNeil at $10.40 an hour, and Cameron Moran at $10.40 per hour. So we need a second.
Second
Second
by,
it.
Seconded by Councilman McGinn. Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, I.
Okay. 2 other items out of executive session. I'd like to make a motion that the town board accepts the advisory opinion of the Board of Ethics regarding violation number 2017-4. So we need a second and
I'll second
approval.
that motion.
Seconded by Councilman McGinn. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay. Last up is, we received a request from Sherry Torah regarding the school district, and I'd like council to review the issues regarding that, and then we will make some sort of determination at a later date. So I would like to make a motion that council reviews the letter that was sent.
And I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Council had recommended that he'll look into this, and we'll look in, and we'll revisit this at, what, next meeting?
On the 18th, yes.
Yeah.
You'll have a decision by then.
Yeah, we'll provide a recommendation before that time, but we'll give you a letter,
Okay.
after we review it with our recommendations.
All right.
Okay. Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay. Public comment.
Oh, streetlight policy?
The what?
Street
Streetlight.
Oh, right. Streetlight policy.
Where is it? I was looking for it.
Keep them on track here.
So the town board would like to adopt a policy regarding streetlights in the future. Jimmy Rogers has been conducting a survey/audit on his own time, volunteering. Currently, we have approximately 360 lights out there, and we're paying over $74,000 a year in lighting. I've been meeting with Jimmy, and he has been able to ascertain that with a policy in place, we can get it down to 215 lights throughout the town, dropping the price below $35,000, which is less than half. Currently, there are plenty of private roads, county roads that have been illuminated, and there hasn't been a policy in place. And I think it's pertinent that we do our due diligence to try to get the costs of this down. From some of the conversations I've had with people, and Jimmy has had, people have moved up here for a rural look. And one example is if you go down Lakes Road, which is a county road, we're paying for all that lighting. There are a couple private developments which have lights, and we're paying for those lights as well. So I think in the best interest of the entire town, the town adopt a policy which would allow lights only on cul-de-sacs and intersections going forward, and we will. I will ask that that be the motion, and I'll discuss another fact regarding that. So we need a second for that motion.
Cologne, the second.
Clone second. All right, discussion. The other aspect of it is it will also help us in the LED program. What happens with the LED program, once you convert, you actually have to buy the fixture and you own the fixture. So there is a cost associated with that, and the way O&R described it is that you'll get your money back after approximately 3 years moving forward. So I think it's in our best interest to reduce the lighting, number one, and then we'll enhance the existing lighting. For example, there were lights that Jimmy couldn't find out there that were on O&R's list that we've been paying for. Some of them we're actually going to go back and ask for a refund on. There were maybe half a dozen of them, but there's still a small cost associated to it. And I really think we owe Jim a debt of gratitude because he really took this on and spearheaded it. One of the issues that we ran into with it was that O&R has a guideline after 9/11 that they won't release any maps pertaining to any of this because of the infrastructure that's located on the maps, and they were, I guess it's a security issue. So when we met with them initially, they were hesitant, but they have approved us obtaining maps that only have the poles and the light fixtures on the maps. So no infrastructure, electrical lines, transformers, etc. are on the maps. So we're close to actually meeting with them to get those maps. I will tell you that Jimmy had maps on his own from his employment and his time on the town board here that go back to like the late 60s, early 70s. So that's how he was able to ascertain as much as he did already. So I would hope that we approve this policy going forward, and we ask council to draft a policy pertaining to that we can approve at our next board meeting. So I will call the question.
We're still under discussion here. So I
Yeah,
know
sure.
you mentioned intersections and cul-de-sacs.
Mhm.
I think that should also be included to add, accident-prone locations as determined by, we're still waiting for a,
Well, Mary,
I have the crash map. Most of the accidents are like on 17M. The ones out on the town sections usually have to do with deer.
okay.
Whether you have a light there or not, it's not probably going to, yeah. The speed
Deer and
and deer
speed.
weather, right. It's not necessarily a sight distance issue and lack of lighting, but I'll bring the map to town hall.
Put reflectiveness on the deer.
All right, I just, I don't know if we should be just restricting ourselves to those two. I mean, there might be other areas that we determine are in need of lights, you know what I mean?
Well, to be determined, we can always add that in.
Yeah, I don't want to lock us into just,
I mean, so
Cul-de-sacs.
council, can you add to, and any other areas that,
Issues of concern.
yeah, deem
necessary.
necessary for safety reasons?
Yeah, absolutely. We're just gonna give, it'll be a draft policy,
Yeah.
and then you'll review it. You can add and remove whatever you would like.
Okay.
Right?
Any other discussion?
Finished?
Finished.
Okay, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again,
Okay, so moved. Anything else before we go into public comment? Thank you for the heads up on that, Mary.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
No? Okay. Can you read the sign-in sheet for the public comment?
Jason Serwinski.
Good evening, Jason Trowinski, Village of Monroe, private citizen. I'm going to talk to you guys about the movie theater tonight. It was on the agenda. You didn't talk about it, but it's on the agenda, so I'm going to talk about it anyway. You guys are considering raising the concession stand prices, and I got to tell you, I'm not really in favor of that. Full disclosure, I love the movie theater. I go there every time they get a new movie. I think it's a great decision. However, I can admit that, okay, yes, the theater does have a revenue problem. And judging by the way the agenda item was written, I think we can all agree on that. However, I don't believe raising the concession stand prices is the way to go. I think, in my opinion, the best solution is to expand your opportunities there. You need to open up a fourth theater, get a fourth showing, and attract more people. If you can attract more people, you can keep your prices the same, and your revenue will still go up because you have that expanded capacity. And that's all I have on the movie theater. On another note, why did we do executive session before the meeting? We just spent 2 hours sitting out here, and that was kind of rude. That was very Harley Doles-esque of you guys. And that is something that every single one of you up here were very well against. Thank you.
Mike Egan.
I'm going to withdraw my request for time.
Mike Goldstein.
Good evening, Mike Goldstein, Town of Monroe. First question I have is why are we paying different rates for lifeguards? There was a different hourly rate. It also seemed to be that the males were getting paid more than the females. So we opened ourselves up to a problem that came in this night. I had the chance to read the settlement agreement, or as Mr. Egan calls it, the peace treaty. And I have some questions. Unfortunately, the town can't do anything about it because we weren't party to it. But part of it said, Curious Joel was supposed to obtain the consent of all other persons, agencies, and authorities whose permission or actions were required under the settlement agreement. Well, we all know that this did not happen because the Curious Joel Alliance has let it be known that they might annex 1,000 acres and form a new village. It is not a question of if but when this will take place. Also, according to the agreement, John Allegro was supposed to discontinue his case index 923-2015 before the Supreme Court of Orange County to get certain lands annexed by Blooming Grove. If Mr. Allegro did dismiss his case, the ability to form a new village also assures the new village they would be able to gobble up parts of South Blooming Grove at their leisure. I've got some other things on that which I'm going to let slide because of the time. And then I'd like to know, why are we rushing to get Palm Tree 1 year earlier? It has been admitted by the board, we don't know the financial impact of what's going to happen when this new town is formed. Why are we moving it up so we'll have a financial shortfall sooner than later? Thank you.
Ward Brower.
Ward Brower, private citizen. Excuse me, pollen is getting to me. Again, I urge you to bring back the department reports and the controller's reports. I miss not having the controller here at least once a month, giving us an accountability of our financial status. I know this pat response in the past has been from some board members, go online. Well, 2 points to that. There's a website called Boundless Mind. This was in Time magazine last month. It says the average hooked or connected person spends about 5 hours a day looking at that silver screen. So if we don't have a whole lot of time, we're going to add more time to the, in addition to that 5 hours to find these answers, when they could have a guy like Peter Martin tell us the answer. The other problem is the cable provider for the town of Monroe. The names have changed, but that provider provides us, in my household, with our internet. That's been getting progressively slower from my observation. Now I know they've already notified us that they're going to increase our rates, and if you want faster service, they're going to charge you an extra bill. So, am I reading this correctly? They slow our service down, and then they charge us more money to bring it back to where it was. And we need you guys, because you guys who negotiated, this board, not you personally, negotiated this contract. You gave this provider a monopoly, virtual monopoly, and on the cable anyway. So that's not really a thing. If you can takes 5 hours normally, and you're going to add another 5 hours at the rate we're going, the public cannot get answers, and I don't have the time to get answers from these things. Bring my point back. I've been on this dead horse for a long time. I still would rather have people up here answering questions live and in front of me, rather than spending 5 hours on looking at that stupid silver screen. Thank you.
That's all for public comment, Supervisor.
Thank you. Board want to comment?
Yeah, I'll comment. Regarding executive session timing, we had people here that needed to speak to us. We didn't want to keep them waiting all night because they've already volunteered their time to conduct an investigation. We didn't see it was fitting. Considering that we've been doing this for the last over 2 years, and now 6 months that we've had this board, I don't think it's out of line to do that up front. We don't do it often. Matter of fact, this is the first time we've done it. It had to be done. So I don't apologize for it. It was something that needed to be done, and to compare it to Harley Dole's and Harley Dole's-esque, I think is out of line. Mr. Goldstein, if you'd come to the last meeting, you would have seen, you could have heard the reasons that the board stated for moving up the Palm Tree vote. If you'd like to watch it on video, you're more than welcome to. I'm not going to restate them again. By your own admission and statement, you said regarding the separation agreement, it's not under the purview of the town, and you're correct. So please don't engage in public grandstanding. All right, we're not. If you want to argue about that with somebody from that organization, be my guest, but it's not under our purview right now. It might be at some point, but it's not right now. We gave our reasons for doing it.
That's a male. And they're in supervisory positions. I'll address that.
I'm good.
Okay. Jason, I do concur with Councilman McGinn's, that Harley Dole's comment was uncalled for. And I'm a little shocked at the fact that this board appointed you to a board and you constantly come up and ridicule us. I think you maybe should curtail what you're speaking about and how you speak to this board, because it's very disrespectful. With respect to the movie theater, if you do add another theater, you're not only adding another theater and generating more revenue, but now you have more costs associated with it. And I think those costs are going to far exceed whatever revenue was brought into the movie theater. And with regard to the executive session, I also agree with Councilman McGinn, and there's also a cost associated with it. So we would have had an attorney here for an additional 2 hours. So there was cost savings associated with that too. As far as the lifeguards and the fact that you're claiming we're paying females more than we are males, those two males, males more than females, those two males are in supervisory positions and they're returning from last year. The other two people are, one is a male, one is a female. So you're completely wrong there.
Thank you for correcting me.
I didn't correct you, I just stated that you were wrong. And I think that was it. Rick?
Nothing to say, everything's been hit.
Mary?
Well, I'm the only board member who didn't vote for the acceleration of Palm Tree, so I understand some of the residents' concerns, and answers will be coming.